And I'm not going to go into detail on OEW because I want him to share this as part of his story. But it is a miraculous organization, in my opinion, because of the work they do and the people they help with our heroes, our first responders, our veterans. And I am really excited this season to feature people from OEW, and Jeremy is going to start that off for us. Jeremy, can you maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to OEW? You can reveal as much or as little as you care to.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a police officer for about 13 years total. About 10 and a half years into my career, May 7th, 2016, I was ambushed and shot on a traffic stop. The details of it, I don't know that we necessarily need to go into too deep, but I survived the shooting, and from that, I developed some pretty dark emotional and psychological issues, turning into PTSD. Through my healing processes, I started speaking out about post-traumatic stress disorder within the law enforcement communities. I started writing, I started doing podcasts like these, and just talking about PTSD within the law enforcement field. And in doing so, Operation Enduring Warrior found me. I call them the Chris's, CJ and Chris Jacobson. He's our, I think he's the VP, he's the ex-VP currently, I'm sorry. He'll probably yell at me for screwing up his title. Chris Jacobson, the ex-VP, and then Chris Thorpe. I don't know what his status is with the organization currently, but he helped found. He was one of the people who helped found Task Force Sentinel. For people who don't know what Operation Enduring Warrior is, it's a veteran-founded, not-for-profit that its aim is to kind of help veterans, police officers, and now firefighters. We've just expanded into firefighters, to kind of find that brotherhood, that camaraderie, and that purpose that so many of us feel we lose when we leave our respective fields, either through retirement or through injury. Injury, in my case, led to my retirement. So by my speaking out, Operation Enduring Warrior found me, and they kind of tricked me, because most of us are kind of hard-headed, and we don't really want to ask for help. And I think that's one of the biggest problems we have, is so many people don't want to ask for help. So the Chris's reached out to me, and they kind of talked to me like they were looking for me to help them. And they kind of posed it to me like, hey, you would be out here helping these other vets, et cetera, et cetera. You'd help these other police officers. And at the time we weren't talking about firefighters yet. They're a new addition to our crew. We had to get the bylaws changed in order to make that happen. But our board, in their wisdom, did that very, very quickly to include those brothers as well, and sisters. I'm sorry, I don't want to be inclusive. So they reached out to me, and they're like, okay, we want you to help. We want you to help. We want you to become an honoree. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. You just did a little switcheroo thing on me. What do you mean an honoree? Well, their honorees are individuals who've been wounded in the line of duty, or in their career field as a veteran, or within the fire services, who need their services. That's emotional, physical, and mental health rehabilitation through physical activity. We take these guys out. So let me back up before I tell you how I got involved as a team member. They brought me on as an honoree. The first place they took me to was Ketowah, Kentucky. I think it was called a Warrior Dash. I think it was a Warrior Challenge. I'm sorry, Ketowah, Kentucky. And so I didn't know what to think of these guys. I knew these guys wanted to make sure that I could do whatever I needed to do in order to, push me forward and show me that my injuries weren't limiting me. Just to tell you a little bit about my injury, I was shot in the arm. The bullet went in my elbow and out my forearm. So I have limited mobility in my right wrist and pain, and a lack of grip strength, that kind of thing. And it fatigues really quickly. So, there was a lot of things I didn't think I was going to be able to do on these obstacle courses. And when I got there, a group of 5 guys, all in gas masks, takes me out on these courses. And there was no such thing as failing. I mean, the failing wasn't an option. If if you started an obstacle that you weren't sure that you were going to be able to get through, the guys in the masks would step up, and you couldn't tell who they were. That's the point of the masks, is their anonymity. You know, you couldn't tell who they were. They have call signs on, but you don't know, you know, the call signs just are there to remind you that these are your brothers who are going to make sure that they're there for you. They're things like steadfast and courage and candor. And these are the types of, you know, these are the types of names you're seeing while these people are ensuring that you will not fail an obstacle course. And then you get through these things that you never thought you could do, and you're just elated. You feel like you're part of a team again because of the teamwork needed to make it through these events. You feel just like there's this brotherhood that is returned, and that I was missing. And so that's what I felt after my first event. But then it didn't stop there. So these guys, they didn't just show up one day, you know, take me out on this course, you know, and get me through this. I started receiving phone calls from almost all of them weekly, you know, checking up on me, seeing how I'm doing, text messages. 2 o'clock in the morning, if I had a call, if I had something I wanted to talk about, these guys would answer the phone. And so a few months after that, they took me to another race, and then another race. And I ended up doing 5 races total across the country. One in Houston, went to a barbecue in Houston with them. I did a couple Spartan races with them. I've done Warex with them, which is out of Thurman, Ohio. One of the best races I'd say in the world.
I would love to go to that. I think Sean may have mentioned that to me. I really want to go to that.
Yeah, it's an amazing, amazing place. Over 60 obstacles. I want to say it's like between 10 and 12 miles. They do a trilogy race, but all of these races, you know, all of these events are, we take the honorees, go through them in order to show them that they're part of a team. They can do anything they want to do. And we don't just stop with the races. So in addition to that, they offered me access to other programs. A Warrior's Voice is their speaking program. That's how I got involved with you. And, you know, that's how I got sent to Gunnison, was as part of Warrior's Voice, to make sure that Josh was there speaking and was able to tell his story. Josh Rainey is one of our honorees as well. And so it's just every step of the way, I saw this organization just put their money where their mouth is. They say we're going to show up, they show up. Then 2 days later, you're getting a phone call saying, you know, just checking up on you. Then 3 days later, they're checking up on you again. You know, this was my experience as an honoree, and that made me want to give back. They showed me that there's purpose in helping others. And when you find your purpose, it makes a lot of the other things kind of seem less trivial, or more trivial, less important, you know, and not that they are less important, but when you have focus on a goal, you have something to work forward to, and you have something to accomplish. And then when you're helping others, you're helping yourself. There's chemical reactions that are taking place that, you know, are releasing the correct hormones in order to regulate yourself, just by helping other people, happiness. And so it creates a cycle in which you just want to continue. I mean, I think that's what's got Justin going with the United We March. I think it's probably the same reason you're doing what you're doing with your podcast. You know, you realize that you're helping yourself while you're helping all these other people.
Everyone that I speak to through this podcast is absolutely phenomenal. And I get such a high after I speak to all of you. I'm on a natural high all day. And it is at least it seems to me to be such a tight-knit community. And it has been so interesting to me how they all cross over, whether it be Ian Newland, who I hear is just an absolute beast on the course, whatever course he's on.
He is crazy fast. So I actually just got an email the other day. There's an ultra coming up. An ultra is a 50K, and that's going to be in Southern California. And somebody put my name in the hat for that. So I was terrified I was going to have to go out and try to keep up with Ian Newland at a 31-mile Spartan race. And I'm like, oh my God, I better start running now. I don't know that I can keep up with that.
And I think his wife is doing it with him as well, Crystal.
Oh,
She's,
really? I've not met either of them actually.
oh my gosh, yes, she is. If you follow them on Facebook, she is right along with them in the workouts. And I follow her on Facebook, and she had mentioned something about how excited they were because that's coming up. But Jeremy, if I can just back up a little bit, I think what you're doing, OEW, is it's showing these heroes, these warriors, that they may have been injured, they may have had a setback, but they're not broken. Isn't that the whole thing?
Absolutely.
They're not broken. They're not broken. They're still
Absolutely.
capable of so much. And I don't know if this was you or not, but when my husband and I left Gunnison, which was, I think Jeremy can attest, the weather there was crazy.
Yeah. There's hurricanes and
It was crazy. We were under a tent and our tent got blown over. It was crazy, but we left that day. And as we were leaving that day and we got out of town, oh my goodness, out in the distance, I don't know if you were with who it was, but out in the distance, I saw a couple of gas masks running with an honoree, and they waved at us. And I don't know if that was you, because we waved at you. We were in a white car and we were on this just lonely stretch of highway, because it is out in the middle of nowhere where they do this. And just the sight of those gas mask people with the honoree, it melted my heart. It really did. It's a special thing to witness. And even, Justin in his episode talks about Adam Francis, who's coming on my podcast. I will be talking
he's a
to
great
him.
guy.
I will be talking to him in a few weeks. And I don't know if you mentioned that you were listening to Justin's podcast, if you have come to the part yet where Justin talks about Francis, is what he calls him, Francis being there and helping Matt Bradford. And that was one of the few times that Justin became emotional in his podcast episode, talking about the great care that OEW has for their honorees, and how Matt Bradford was in such a good place and was so well protected by those from OEW who were sent to make sure that he was okay. And about what did Justin say? They were making sure that Matt's stumps were rested.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, I wasn't there with Matt. I think that would have been 2 years ago then?
Yes, I was so mad because he was thinking about coming this year and he didn't. I was hoping, I want to meet him.
Yeah.
He has been
he's
great
hilarious.
friend. He has been a great friend of the podcast. He has referred, I think, 3 or 4 people to this podcast. He's amazing.
Did he tell you the story about the bear on the mountain?
No.
Ask him about the bear on the mountain. That's his story, so I won't tell it. But
okay.
It involved a bear and a bunch of people saying, "Oh, there's a bear," and with him being blind and having no legs, he was like, "Where's the bear?" So I guarantee you, he'll tell the story much better.
Oh my gosh, he just brings you in with that slight Kentucky drawl of his, and he keeps you there because he's one of the most amazing people anyone would ever meet. Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Very good guy. Very good guy. And, we've brought on a couple more honorees since then. Jesse Hartnett is now one of our honorees. He was a Philadelphia police officer who was shot in the line of duty. And Matthew Schoolfield, he was a Oklahoma police officer who was shot during a search warrant. He was recently honored by Blue Help in Las Vegas. And we were able to arrange for Matthew to get there with his wife in order to receive the gift or the award, which was amazing. And he was able to sit through a conference for 3 days with other people sharing their stories with some support groups, things of that nature. And it helped both him and his wife, get more information about what they may be dealing with over the next few years. And
well,
it was a great time.
What has OEW done for you? How has it changed you?
It's given me a purpose. Going back to what I was talking about before, I wake up and, I started out as an honoree with the organization. And when I became an honoree, I also became what they call an OCA, which is their volunteers. And as part of that, I was able to, kind of go out and spread the message about OEW and what they're doing as an honoree. I'm able to say, this is, they brought me into this team. I found my family, kind of found my tribe, people of like mind who've experienced similar situations who I can really connect to and relate with. And, I know I'm going to say the same thing that Sean said. It's a safe space. It really is. I hate using the term safe space, but it's not safe in that we're going to rip on each other and everything, because that's part of what we're all used to and what we're, what the camaraderie. But at any time, I know that I can put my complete faith and trust in any of the guys within Operation Enduring Warrior, guys or girls. When I say guys, I'm referring to everyone. And they're going to help pull me through. So the worst case scenario, in my darkest moments, when I was considering suicide, things of that nature, you're in this abyss. You're in a dark hole. And it wasn't for me, at least, so much that I wanted to die as much as I didn't want to hurt anymore. And that seems to be a very common thread. And when I was able to share that message with the guys within Operation Enduring Warrior, I found out it was such a common theme, a common thread to these guys' stories. And we could all relate and we could all understand. And it wasn't sitting there telling a story anymore with somebody who was, judging you and thinking, oh my God, here we go again. This person's crazy. This person's weak. You're really talking to somebody who'd been there, who'd done that, who has the badge, who has the uniform, has walked it, talked it, lived it, and has somehow found a way to persevere through it anyway.